lovely darklings. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, excuse me for just 1 second. All right. Okay. I believe I am live. So I haven't been live in such a long time. I feel like the last time I was live here on YouTube was probably within the last year. It's probably been a year. But I am very happy to be coming back live, and I want to talk about self-sabotage. And this is something I haven't really talked about before. I love to talk about shadow work and how we can ascend and how we can just be spiritually growing and be on the path to self-mastery so we can clear away what is not us, clear away all the titles, clear away all the character traits, clear away all that we are not so we can get to who we are. It's all about authenticity. Like the path to self-mastery, it's all about authenticity. It's all about being who you truly are at your core, your divine self, and not wavering from that. Not wavering from that from one bit, for one bit. So I trust you're doing well today on this lovely Tuesday evening. It is gloomy here in Baltimore and I love it. So let me get on to my first point about self-sabotage. So I titled this self-sabotage, friend or foe, because a lot of the time we like to see it as something that is attacking us, that is against us. Like there is a force that is sweeping away all that is what's supposed to be coming for us. But is it really? Is it really? Because what self-sabotage is, it is our way, our ego way, our human way of unconsciously protecting ourselves from the thing we're most fearful of. And I say unconscious because a lot of the time we don't realize that it is really us. Of course, there are certain circumstances and certain events that happen that make you feel like you're not in alignment of certain things, that make you feel like there are things blocking your blessings, or that make you feel like it's just not meant for you, that it shouldn't happen for you, anything like that. But let me tell you that nothing can block your blessings. Nothing can block your blessings. There are just times where we're not able to receive. We are not able to receive. And that's what I feel like self-sabotage really comes from. We are scared to receive what is ours. We're scared to receive what we know we want because we feel like we don't deserve it. We feel like we don't deserve it. And we always want something. We're always wanting, wanting, wanting. But as soon as we get it, we can't even see the blessing for what it is. A lot of the time, we don't even see that it's the thing that we want. Maybe it is not exactly 1,000% of what we want it to be. So we toss it aside. We toss it aside as if it's nothing. But when you self-sabotage, it is your subconscious way of trying to make you protective over yourself. It is simply trying to protect you. And that's what the ego really is. We think the ego is bad. We think the ego is something to be scared of, to toss away, to hate, to say negative things about. Because a lot of the way, the ego can put us down bad paths. It can really put us on a bad path because it is the way we're able to immerse ourselves in the human experience without being too like out in the clouds, up in the air. Because it's really easy to get up in the air, especially someone like me who is really like a Pisces. I'm such a Pisces. It's so funny how much I love to be in the clouds. And as a Pisces, not even just as a Pisces, but as somebody who just loves to have fun, I actually made a video about this, like probably a short really recently where I talked about how we had to be playful with life circumstances. And it's hard to be playful when you're operating from the ego. It's hard to be really, really playful when you're out in the ego. So, the more important thing here is to recognize that self sabotage is not something that's working against you. It's not something that is trying to uh, hurt you or something that's trying to block your blessing. It is merely your body, your ego mind, your conscious mind trying to protect you from your biggest fear. And a lot of the time, our biggest fear is failure. We feel like we're going to fail. We feel like we're going to like land flat in our face. We feel like we're going to screw up in front of all these people, that we're going to have an audience for so many like of our blunders, of our bloopers. Because like the blooper reel in movies, obviously we don't see that until the end of the movie. And it doesn't mean that these people were messing up, the actors or the comedians or the performers were messing up. They flubbed over their lines, but they're still doing the thing. They're being playful with the fact that they're messing up their lines. They're being playful with the fact that they probably didn't say the right thing or probably didn't have the complete embodiment of the character they're playing. So that's why I want to talk about self sabotage, because a lot of the time we don't even see it. We do not even see it. And it is not our fault, but it is our responsibility to be conscious of it so we can understand why and override it. Because once again, self sabotage is you unconsciously trying to protect yourself from your worst fear, your worst nightmare. And our worst nightmare is usually failure. And what is failure? Like, if we're trying to self sabotage, if we unconsciously block ourselves from the one thing that we truly want in this life, or what that we're truly desirous of, whether it is a desired career, a desired embodiment, like characteristics or traits that you want to see in your life. Thank you so much, Carter's Origins. But once again, nothing can block your blessings. And the only roadblock on our path to success, the only roadblock on our path to greatness, our only roadblock to our path to our dreams, to our highest timeline, to our highest potential is us. So it is really important that we're very aware and mindful and conscious of why we feel like we have to protect ourselves from getting what we actually want. And once again, on top of our fear of failure, because we can really never fail, we only fail if we don't do the damn thing, as you already know, a lot of you already know. But we also have a complex when it comes to feeling worthy, because we do not feel worthy, we do not feel deserving, and we do not feel like we are capable or able or valuable enough to have the things we want. So even if we are praying, even if we're having some sort of trust, even if we have some sort of belief that it is possible for us to get said things, there are multiple belief systems that we have that can override or block, essentially, or even, I don't want to say block, but what's the word? But can even unconsciously stop you or unconsciously slow down your process. How about that? It can unconsciously slow down your process to getting to where you want to go. Simply because our belief systems are our blueprint. Our belief systems are how we view the world. Our belief systems are the formula, or is the makeup of what we're going to perceive. What we believe, we perceive quite literally. And if we perceive the world, if we have a belief system that perceives the world as doom and gloom, dangerous, awful, cold, as much as you've probably have experiences in the past of the world being this way, it is going to continue. It's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy because it is a part of your makeup. Once again, the ego uses all of your past experiences in order for you to feel safe enough to hopefully predict your next step to help you have better behaviors in order to be a human. But we have to also remember, yes, our past experiences has happened. Yes, they may have felt icky. Yes, there are certain things we probably want to do to walk in the future and not have to be set up in that trap again. But our belief systems can always change regardless of our past. Our belief systems are malleable. Our belief systems are ever changing. Do you believe the same things you believed a year ago? Do you believe the same things to a T, 100%? Do you believe the same things you believed 6 months ago, 2 months ago, 2 weeks ago, 2 days ago? I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. Because as much as we like to believe that our personalities, our belief systems, and our thoughts are set in stone, they are not. And once again, it is our ego, the thing that makes us self-sabotage. It is our ego that makes us feel that way. We feel safe when we have carried the same belief systems, thought systems, and everything else that comes along with it for years and years, because it has kept us safe at one point. But what has worked for us in the past is not what's going to work for us in the present or even in our future. And we definitely need to remember that. And the point of my channel is to bring you back into remembrance. These are things you already know, my lovely darklings. These are things you already know. You already know these things. I am just here as a self-mastery teacher, as a guide, as a healer. Hey, Avutu dear, how are you today? Thank you for joining me on this random live. But yes, I'm helping you remember. I'm not even, I consider myself a healer. I'm definitely an intuitive healer, but I'm not healing you. You are healing yourself through my guidance. You are the healer. You already know what to do. I'm helping you remember these things. And when you operate from the I am, when you operate from your spirit self, your divine self, your higher self, your expanded self, when you're operating from that core, that place, that authentic being that is you, that ancient entity that is you, incarnate in this human form, you're not going to allow yourself to self-sabotage. You already understand your worth. You already understand your value. You understand that you are deserving of all that you desire in this life, the dream of the dream that you're dreaming, because you are understanding that you are not, you in your human form is not going to be the same person every day. And you move through that. You're able to see past all the things you are not to get to who you are when you're operating from the I am, when you're operating from your higher self, your expanded self, your God, goddess self. So self-sabotage, once again, is not trying to hurt you. It is not your friend, nor is your foe, but it will pose itself as your friend. And if anything the body does is friendly. Anything the body does is friendly. Because at the end of the day, your conscious mind, your ego, your subconscious mind, anything that is in this material plane, anything that keeps your body going, is its number one goal is to keep you alive and to keep you safe. And can you blame your ego for that? Can you blame the part of yourself that self-sabotages for that? Whether it is conscious or unconscious? Because self-sabotage is not always just an unconscious thing. We definitely consciously do it as well. But can you blame your body for wanting to keep you safe? Can you blame your mind for wanting to keep you safe? Can you blame your ego for wanting to keep you safe? Because that is its number one function. So once again, your self-sabotage, it is not your foe, but you definitely don't want to make friends with it, because you have to override it at some point. Once you're conscious, once you shine a light on that darkness that you have within, that you do self-sabotage, that you do create roadblocks on your path to success in your highest timeline and your highest ascension, your highest embodiment, your divine embodiment, It's up to you to decide what you're going to do about it. What you're going to do about it. Havutu, I think everything that our mind does, it's just a neutral signpost trying to tell us something. Absolutely, dear. And you, that's what I love about you, because you definitely are a very much so understanding of stuff like that. It is our mind. Our mind, everything is neutral unless we assign meaning to it. Everything is neutral. I completely understand that as humans, we have very intense emotions. We feel, we sense, we perceive, we have judgments. That judgments can create belief systems. Those belief systems create thoughts. Those thoughts create behaviors. Those behaviors create actions, and so on and so forth. Everything is just going to be a never-ending cycle unless we shine light on it. So when you understand and you stop that cycle of knowing that you have assigned a negative meaning to what your mind does, to what your mind perceives, to what the world is, to what you are, who you are, you'll understand that everything is everything. And of course, we can't always just say it is what it is. But what I truly think what it is, because we have feelings as humans, we have judgments, we have belief systems. So it's not so easy to believe that it is what it is, even though it's easy but not impossible. But what I think it is what it is, that saying means it is what it is understanding that accepting things as it is the only thing you can do. Accepting things as they are is the only thing you can do. And that's where unconditional love comes into play. That's why I always like to talk about unconditional love along with shadow work, divine embodiment, anything that could help us ascend as divine beings. Because when you are unconditionally loving something, that's what you're doing. You're not romantically in love with it. You're not excusing it. You're not making excuses for it. You're not saying that it's okay, or you're not even liking it. You're accepting it for what it is. So you're not in resistance to it. You're not fighting against it, because things should just be as they are. And you wish it, you send it love, you send it healing, you send it empathy, because that energy translates so much. So we live in a really metaphysical world. As much as the physical plane is so dense and tangible and rigid, everything is malleable at the end of the day. Everything is the unseen, everything is metaphysical, and it is subject to change. Fighting against something is not going to change it. Your belief, your faith in the divine order and chaos, you sending it love, you sending it healing, you seeing it as already healed, you seeing it as already complete, seeing it as already whole, is going to give way more healing to the situation, way more construction to the situation, way more power to the situation than any of your resistance could. Huvutu, I really think everything is trying to help us in some way, the best it knows how, and we're all doing the best we know how. Absolutely, darling. Wise, sage words. I completely agree. I completely agree. Speaking of that, hydrate before you dehydrate. But, and that's another thing too. My body just sent me a signal that I'm thirsty. Does that mean that I am drying out and on the brink of death? Is that a bad thing that I'm thirsty? Being thirsty is neutral unless you're like stranded on a desert. That's another story. That's very rare. But that's very neutral that my body sent me the sense that I'm thirsty. I merely needed to take a sip of water. Excuse me. Same for when you have a negative thought or a self-sabotaging thought. That is a neutral indicator that there is something in your body, something in your mind, body, and spirit that needs attention, that needs love, that needs compassion, that needs empathy. All it wants is your attention. Same to, once again, as neutral as it was for me to be thirsty, If I kept staving off that feeling, similar to what we have with negative thoughts that we don't like to feel, we don't like to entertain because it feels negative and icky. We don't want to go into it because of the shame, the judgment that we give ourselves whenever they arise. But similar back to my point, it's a neutral indicator that I'm thirsty, or a neutral indicator that my body needs hydration. I'm not even thirsty. I just like to drink. I just need to drink water. Like, it's important for someone like me to drink water. Like, healers need water. Like, we're constantly cleansing our body. We're constantly, in the state of healing, even though we're already healed. I already see myself as healed. But just flushing it all out and all those types of things. So my body was thirsty. I knew I needed to drink some water. And so I did. Very neutral. Whenever we have a negative thought or a pattern coming up, it is the same thing. It is a neutral indicator that there is something that needs to be cleared in our body, whether it is in our nervous system, our subconscious mind, anything. All it wants to have is attention. It doesn't want you to suppress it anymore. It doesn't want you to shove it down anymore. It doesn't want to be repressed anymore. So when things like this arise, it all comes down to what you're going to do about it. What are you going to do about it? Because it's not enough to once again suppress it. It's going to come back to haunt you again. So, how can you meet this neutral indicator, whether it is self sabotage, a negative thought, a negative belief system, a negative memory? How are you going to course correct? How are you going to knock yourself back into your alignment to who you're truly supposed to be within your divine embodiment? What are you going to do with this information without shame, without judgment, without resistance, without fighting it? And that really comes down to what you want to embody, who you want to be. And when it comes to that, I will always say, once again, when those things arise, you have to be conscious, mindful, aware, and present enough within your body to know when these things are popping up and causing a reaction within you. Once you have that reaction, go within. I know you want to have a really harsh, lashed out, like an external reaction, because that's our first instinct. And if you need that reaction in order to release it from your system, especially if you've repressed it or suppressed it for so long, do it, but in a non-violent way, preferably, preferably in a creative way. If you need to scream into a pillow, do what you gotta do. Try not to punch a wall, try not to lash out at somebody, but it is important for that to get out in some way. Just let it out in some way. Eh, I always like to say go inward. Once we have a harsh emotional reaction to something, hello, Jetlyn. Once we have a harsh emotional reaction to something, that is typically our signal to the divine. That is like our signal to source, God, divine energy, whatever you want to call it, that I believe that this thing is true. That's why, as much as stoicism is possibly, it seems like you have to be emotionless, you have to be like a robot. It's not. It's simply not allowing your emotions to control you, because our emotions are fleeting. So as much as they should be released in a hopefully a creative way, or even just going inward, taking a deep breath, examining the thought without shame or judgment. And once we do that, we are finally giving that part of ourselves the love, attention, compassion, and empathy it needs. Going back to shadow work, whenever we're having this reaction, hopefully internal, if it needs to be external in a safe, healthy, and productive way. But you're going inward. You're shining a light on that darkness, that part of yourself that you have compartmentalized in order to fit in order to feel normal, in order to feel accepted, in order to feel loved. The part of yourself that you have split away from your consciousness, from your dominant consciousness, in order to go by the status quo, in order to move about easy in this world. But once again, that doesn't make us authentic. And that hurts. The number one way to be unhappy, I feel like deep down in my soul, I feel like the true root of our deep unhappiness, our existential unhappiness as humans, especially in the modern age, is not only because we have a deep sense of unworthiness. We have a really, really deep sense of unworthiness, especially how the world is, these days. But I think it's because we are bred, conditioned, and programmed to not be authentic. And not being authentic is the harshest thing to do to ourselves because that is our number one job. Our number one job is to be authentic. I completely understand that we have been rejected. We have been teased. We have been shamed, judged, ostracized for being our true authentic selves, for taking off the mask, being vulnerable enough, being expressive enough to show people the real parts of ourselves, the parts of ourselves that light us up inside, the things that make us feel joyful, excited, passionate about being alive. We have been conditioned and programmed out of that. The playful, childlike self, because when we were children, I talked about this in a recent live on Instagram. I go live on Instagram very often. I will also be going live on Instagram this Thursday for the 12/12 portal. I want to do a ritual. But let me know if you would like me to go live more here on YouTube since this is my first time back in so long. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for joining me, by the way. Much love to you all. But yes, I digress. So our child self, our inner child, talking about the fun parts of the inner child. Remember in school, like someone laughed at us for liking what we liked, or somebody, or even a teacher. A teacher probably made a snarky remark to make us feel some type of way about ourselves, to make us feel like what we did was wrong or unacceptable, that we were bad for liking what we like or being who we are. Excuse me. I know that's happened to you all because as divine beings, people who are on the path of ascension, like you lovely darklings, all of us, we know that we have been authentic our whole lives. We have been authentic our whole lives, but somebody has something to say. When we were children, somebody has something to say, and we questioned ourselves. We didn't understand at the time. We didn't give ourselves the pep talk at the time to know that who we are is enough. I don't need to conform to what you think is proper for me being a human in order to be accepted by you. If anything, I don't need your validation. I don't need your approval. And I don't need your qualification in order for me to be the most authentic I can be at this moment. And unfortunately, as children, we didn't have the guidance, the protection, and the wherewithal or the confidence or the activation to know that who we were was enough. The playfulness, the excitement, the joy, the peace, the bliss, the wonder, the curiosity. Wasn't that such a beautiful time? And the fun part is we can be that inner child. Now, that inner child never went away. That inner child never went away. It is still within you, darling, just like the version of you you desperately want to be. Not desperately, we're not desperate here as divine beings, but the person you are salivating to be, that you can already see, smell, taste, touch, and hear and sense. Just like the inner child is still within you, that version of yourself is within you right now. There is no separation between you and your most high embodiment and or the inner child you used to be before you were programmed and conditioned out of it. All we need to do is get out of our own way and access it. That's why the topic of today is self-sabotage. That's what self-sabotage does. And we're not here to judge it or to shame it. Because just like what Havutu said earlier, it is a neutral indicator that is trying to tell us something. It's all communication. It is all communication at the end of the day. All we have to do is meet it with the unconditional love, acceptance, and neutrality it needs. And then it can tell us what to do from there. It always tells us what to do from there. All we need to do is trust in our divine guidance. Trust and have faith in the divine order and chaos of life. And trust in the inner GPS system that is our intuition. We have so much guidance, not even within our bodies, from our expanded self, from our higher self, but from our ancestors, our angels, the ascended masters, our guides, God itself, source itself. We're not doing this alone. We are not doing this alone. Ask for guidance. Ask for a sign. Ask for communication. Ask, ask, ask. And when you ask, you're not begging them. You're not pleading them. You are thanking them already for their guidance. You're thanking them already for their blessings, for the abundance they sent your way. Because once again, everything, it is already here. There is no separation between you and the person you want to be, you and the things you want to get, or anything else. It is all already within you. It is just channeling itself through you, through this plane, because there is process, there is, uh, we're living in a dimension where things take a slower amount of time. That's why we're so like impatient with our desires, because in the spirit realm and the metaphysical world, we can get things like that. Like that. Things are instant. Like the 3D printer we have here, like things are 5D printing ASAP in other realms, other dimensions. But here, the beauty of being a human is that we were the reason why space and time are such beautiful ways of experiencing this process, experiencing the process of receiving a desire, working towards it, and receiving it. Because once again, everything is already here. Everything is already here. But the beauty of being a human is that we get to see it unfold in real time. We get to taste the fruits of our labor. We get to see how I don't want to even say hard work, because hard work doesn't always pay off. Hard work is just hard work. We see how our consistency has attracted what we've salivated all over, what we already believed existed for us, what we believe we not even just deserve, but we are worthy of. And going back to our deep sense of unworthiness, another thing that self-sabotage can come into play is the fact that we feel like we need to have a reason in order for us to receive great things, in order for us to feel abundant. All the feelings of abundance, joy, happiness, bliss, ecstasy, freedom is already within us. I understand there are certain circumstances that are happening in the world today, and that there are some people, some groups of people who it may be harder than others because of their circumstances. But once again, everything's temporary and you still have those emotions within. You just command them. Just like you ask for guidance, you thank your guides, ancestors, angels, ascended masters, benevolent protectors, God, source, energy, whatever, for guidance, for communication, for a sign. You can do the same for your emotions. I call on bliss and I'm feeling it now. I command the feeling of joy and I'm experiencing it now. I create happiness from within and I'm feeling it now. And you allow yourself to receive that type of emotion because you are worthy of feeling amazing at all the time. all the time. And of course, there are things that are becoming coming on our way that will make us feel icky and make us feel low and make us feel some type of way, but that's also okay because it is so rare for us to feel that triggered all the time unless we need to go to therapy, which is a beautiful thing. But it's so rare for us to really constantly, or it's so unnatural for us to feel so low all the time that we know that there is a better emotion out there. We know that we're supposed to be feeling good. That's why it feels amazing when we're happy and joyful and passionate about something and excited and playful about things. We know that's how we're supposed to feel. That is our natural state without the human body. Where once again, we are in the third dimension and the third density. It's very, very dense here. It's very tangible. It feels very solid here, even though everything is vibrating atoms. Everything is vibrating atoms. Nothing is set in stone. Everything is clay that can be molded into our vision, into what we believe. But I say this to remind us that, like, we don't need a reason in order for us to have great things manifested for us. We don't have to have a reason in order for us to receive abundance, receive joy, receive wonderful relationships, receive perfect health, receive like infinite amounts of money, to receive any of it, to receive compliments from people, even as small, as little as compliments. We can't, sometimes it's hard for us to even receive that. And of course, that is something that we have to delve deep into our shadow work practice to understand why. But when you're operating from the I am, what us divine beings do, because once again, I see all of us lovely darklings as alchemists, as master manifestors, as self-master divine beings, as healed, holding, complete, and you know you are too. You know you are too. But at the core of that, we know that we are worthy of that completion, that we are whole. We are worthy of that healing. We are worthy of those blessings. Why not us? That's the real question. Why not me? Why not me? It doesn't matter what you've done in the past. It doesn't matter who you used to be. It doesn't matter who you are now. Of course, as long as you're not hurting anybody and you're acting in, according to, you know, divine will for the highest and greatest good of all, in love and light, but you're still worthy of it all. That's why you're here. That's why you're here. You're here to bring the higher down to the lower. If you've heard of the Hermetic principles of the Kabbalion, then you already know that. And that's why I'm so grateful for you, lovely darklings, for wanting to walk this path, because it is so important that we get out of our own way, get out of our own way with the self-sabotage, the negative thoughts and belief systems, the hanging on, the attachment, the the belief systems, the character traits, the behaviors that we need to clear so we can make way for the new. All of those things that create roadblocks on our path to ascension. It is our duty to clear out all the conditioning that we have been programmed to believe since we popped out of the womb. We done popped out of the womb programmed. So we were grown up to have to believe this and to internalize this and to do this and to be this. But if we clear all that away, if we recognize more and more of what does not resonate with us, if we use our internal guidance system to show us what does resonate with us, you can get rid of all that doesn't align with you and keep what does. And then layer your divine embodiment traits on top of it. So not only are you being your most authentic self, you're channeling your higher self down to the lower self, and not even lower self as you are, as if you were lower, like you were lower or less than. Our bodies are in a lower vibrational state. And that's why it's physical. That's why it's so dense and tangible. It has to be this way once again to have experience, to see things play out in real time, for things to unfold. And it's fun. It's really fun. It's more fun than we know. It's fun being human. Yes, we live in a world where people like to dominate. It is in our primal nature to dominate. That's probably not a lot of fun, but we can still override that with consciousness. That's why it's so important to operate from the I am, to operate from your higher self, to be your most authentic self, because your authentic self doesn't want to dominate. If it does, then damn. But why, if you're operating from unconditional love, peace, joy, abundance, you're not going to want to harm people. You're not letting your darkness overcome you. You're not letting the violence, the shame, the self-loathing that lurks in your unconscious mind, your subconscious mind as well, to overcome you. We as shadow people who practice our shadow work, we shine a light on that darkness. We allow it to become conscious. We don't split it apart in order to survive. We don't split it apart in order to be accepted or validated or approved of. We allow it to be, and we offer it love, and we say, thank you. Thank you for all that you've done to keep me safe. You are allowed to exist, but you are dismissed. Goodbye, and you peacefully detach and add in better, more positive, more uplifting, more empowering traits in its place. And you're able to do that at every moment. You are always ever changing. I did a list of affirmations on my Instagram post today. I love doing affirmations. I actually even posted here on YouTube in my community tab. And I love speaking with you all there. And I'm gonna probably post that tomorrow. But that was one of the affirmations I put in there is I am forever changing. I am ever evolving. My expansion knows no bounds because we do not want to be stuck in the past. We do not want to be stuck of who we think we're supposed to be. Excuse me. We don't want to be stuck in what others have told us we're supposed to be. Because Jimi Hendrix made a quote. I love Jimi Hendrix. I was raised on Jimi Hendrix. Mwah, mwah, mwah. As you can tell, as a rocker chick. But Jimi Hendrix made a quote in one of his songs. I'm blanking on it now. He said, "No one can live my life but me." Something along those lines. It's like you're trying to tell me what to do. You're trying to tell me how to live. You're trying to tell me what's best for me. I know what's best for me. I know what I like. I know what makes me light up inside. I know what makes me feel joyful, excited, passionate. You can't tell me what job I should be taking in the future. You cannot tell me how I should express myself. You cannot tell me what my future should be based on what you think is safe for me. I get to determine that. Point blank, period. I get to determine that. And unfortunately, a lot of us, most of the world, we are operating based on what others have told us. We just take it all at face value. And that is not our fault because, once again, we have been conditioned to believe that way since we are tribal. We like to follow a herd. So that is an innate ability of ours. That's an innate quality of ours as humans, as human animals. But with consciousness, with operating from the I am, with bringing the higher realms down to the lower, we will be able to know more and more. We'll be able to get the downloads, the intuitive messages, the signs, the manifestations, the opportunities, the aligned people. All those things will appear in our path to show us not only who we are based on our internal world, but we even get to just create that because we're creators. When you bring the higher down to the lower and you override the self-sabotage, when you override the overactive ego, when you override the repressing and suppressing of your darkness, and you obviously shine a light on that, but when you override the programming, the conditioning that we have internalized for as long as we've been alive, with your consciousness, with your mindfulness, with your awareness, by bringing the higher down to the lower, with having your higher self channel through you at all times, being the observer, allowing your higher self to observe through you rather than you having a lot of mental chatter, with you clearing out the old emotions, all the old memories, all the old sensations in your body and through from your nervous system to create new paths and new traits and new belief systems. Then that's when you're able to create. You're able to be the creator. You're not creating destruction. You're not using your words to destroy. You're not using your words to some people. You're not using your words to be salty. You're using your words to create. You're using your hands to create. You're using your mind's eye to create. You're using your dreams to create. You're using your environment to create. You are using your passions to create. And that is our goal, our mission, our purpose, whatever. It really is to just be as authentic as possible, to allow your higher self to channel through you so clearly, being such a clear channel, such a healthy, well, happy channel, blissful channel, peaceful channel for your higher self to divine through. Then you'll be getting all the insight and intuitive messages you need to move about your life with joy. And that may be weird to a lot of people, but that's okay. That's okay. They don't have to understand it in order for us to do it. Once again, as long as we're not hurting other people and it is according to divine will, empowered by the divine for the highest and greatest good of all, and we're not hurting anyone, we're free to do as we please with our free will. So yes, our higher self already has some things that they want us to do in this lifetime, even from, past lifetimes. We can clear our karmic debt as well. We're not doomed to our karma as well. But when we channel the higher down to the lower, we'll know what our next step is. We're no longer in fear of what's going to happen. We're no longer in fear that we have no purpose. We're no longer in fear that our blessings are being blocked. We know our blessings are here. We know, we believe in the metaphysics. We have faith that everything is already here. We once again, we're self-mastered. We understand and know our divinity. We know our worth. We know our value. We know we are deserving regardless of our past. We know that our past doesn't even define us. What is that? No. Our past was merely a way to show us who we are, to give us context of this world, to just give us context. And also to show us what we do or do not want in the future. Once again, neutral signposts to communicate with us who we are and who we are not, what resonates or what doesn't, what aligns and what doesn't. Only we can determine that. So once again, my lovely darklings, self-sabotage, friend or foe, really neither. Really neither. But I will say it's more friendly because it is simply your ego trying to protect you from a possible worse fear, or the fear that you're not even worthy of said thing, which kind of puts you in the way of not receiving things, because you're always receiving a sign. Whether you like to believe it or not, you are always receiving communication from somebody. Everything that we manifest, and everything's a manifestation. Everything's a manifestation, whether it's neutral, good, or bad. But once we stop assigning meaning to everything as that dual thing, as good or bad, black or white, like when we're so dual, there's no room for a spectrum. There's no room for maybe. There's no room for could be. There's no room for let's see what happens. All neutral things. Things happen regardless of how they feel, they're still moving us in the right direction. And when we stop assigning negative meaning to everything, we will see how this is enriching our life experience in some way. And self sabotage, when you override that with consciousness, with always being aware of what's going on internally, whether or not you want to run away from that thought, that belief, that feeling, because we're always trying to run away from our icky feelings, understandable. Not our fault, but it is our responsibility to still check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. Because once again, it is merely neutral. All we need to do is meet it with unconditional love and acceptance of what is. Stop fighting it, stop resisting it, and see it for what it is, communication from the divine to show us what is going to align. That rhymed. Ugh, kind of. That one didn't really rhyme, but whatever. But yes, thank you so much for joining me. I had such a great time. I feel like I'm going to go live a lot more. I don't mind filming YouTube videos, but I feel like I just like to go live. I just do better live. When you record a transmission like this is all raw. I have no script. I'm just riffing. I'm just talking to you. I'm just being channeled, really. I'm just being channeled. So either way, I am so grateful for you all joining me for today, for this random live. I'll definitely be going live a lot more. And yes, I'll see you in the next one. Much love, and until next time, I love you, darklings. Bye-bye.